Hi, my name is Michael, you can call me MBL Designs. And that what you just saw was my Avengers Infinity War Wakanda minifigure display that I made to celebrate the 10-year anniversary of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, also known as the MCU, and to also celebrate the release of Avengers Infinity War, the climax to a 10-year wait to see the Avengers finally battle the Mad Titan Thanos. This MOC do recreate several scenes from the Battle of Wakanda in Avengers Infinity War. I try my best to fit in as many scenes that I could possibly fit in, and so many of my favorite scenes from the movie that I possibly could. With that in mind, this MOC turned out really big and has become one of my biggest MOCs so far, and therefore it is sadly too big to fit into my shooting area where I shoot my MOC showcases. So this MOC will sadly not get a traditional MOC showcase video like I've done with several of my other MOCs. The thing I thought I would do instead, considering that this is a very special project for me, I thought I would do a making of video. So in this video I will be going over the making of process of building this, because I started my building before the movie was released and continued when the movie had been released, and I had seen it several times. So stay tuned to see what actually went through when creating this MOC. It all started on June 19th, 2017, right after I had finished my Thanos Flying Throne from Guardians of the Galaxy. When I made that, I started thinking of what could possibly be in store for Avengers Infinity War. How many characters there would be, which characters would interact with which characters, and just so many possibilities that were beyond my greatest imagination. I posted this picture on Instagram to declare that I was starting to think about what could possibly be in store. But of course I had no idea what was in store. This was mainly to get me in the motivation and mindset that I needed to be to make this model. I continued on with my process, but I knew I couldn't make anything solid because I had no idea what the story would be or any places they would visit in the movie overall, because this was before any of the trailers had been released. And at this point I decided to focus on making action poses, having different ways of displaying different minifigures depending on their powers. So for example, I focused on Falcon and Spider-Man, two of the more dynamic heroes, with a lot of flexibility in their movements, and tried to replicate it in a good way with Lego. For example, Spider-Man usually swings, having some form of swinging motion. Falcon usually flies, trying to capture that with the minifigures in different ways. And this was what I came up with. I had no idea if this would happen in the movie, if Spider-Man flew together with Falcon or anything like that. But I tried my different techniques and tried just different things to see what worked and what didn't. Sadly, this did not happen in the movie, but it also helped me just to figure out the possibilities of posing different minifigures. So it wasn't a complete lost cause. November 29th, 2017, the first trailer for Avengers Infinity War was released. And in this trailer we saw something that looked like a big battle taking place in Wakanda. We saw dropships dropping in Wakanda, and we also saw a big battle taking place in Wakanda. This made me start building on a Wakandan display, because I thought that this would be the big battle scene of the movie. It turned out to be true. but I did not know how big it would be. So I started out with making this front part, using Technic bricks on the backside so I could connect it to other pieces later on and build it bigger and bigger, depending on how much space I would need, how many characters I would have to need to fit on this display. I started out with this idea to then later on also adding some black slope pieces with stickers that I actually got from a previous Captain America Civil War sets that actually had Wakandan letters on them, displaying that this is a Wakandan display. I thought this was a cool detail. It's nothing that's actually taken from the movie, but it was an artistic choice I decided to do to literally put in a bit more of a Wakandan influence to the MOC overall. This was of course the first step, and after this I continued on with the same idea, building a Wakandan display based on the battle scene from the movie, taking inspiration from the beginning of the trailers, but then later on from the actual movie. Fast forward to February of 2018 when LEGO revealed the 6 sets that would come for Avengers Infinity War. With these minifigures, I got the opportunity to decide on how I would split up the minifigures depending on how the movie turns out. My guess from the beginning was I split them up into 4 groups. We had the villains, including Thanos, the Black Order, and also the Outriders. We had the space characters, which consisted of the Guardians of the Galaxy and Thor, because from the trailer we had understood that Thor was mainly with the Guardians in the movie. We then had the New Yorkers. We had Doctor Strange, Tony Stark, and the people who are in New York. And then we had the Wakandan characters, like Captain America, Black Widow, Black Panther, and also Shuri. This was my way of separating the characters before I saw the movie, trying to figure out how they would interconnect with each other. I later on, when the movie was released, figured out exactly where every character was. On April 25th, 2018, I went to see Avengers Infinity War in IMAX. When I was walking out of the theater afterwards, I was blown away. I did not realize what I was in store for. The sheer fact that they managed to fit in over 20 plus characters that have had movies going back to 2008 and making them so relatable and just so grounded is astonishing. And I had now more reference material for my Wakanda display. So I immediately went home and started building. And this video represents exactly what happened afterwards. With the video, I declared that I was continuing on building on my Avengers Infinity War displays, taking a lot more inspiration from the movie now when I had seen it. Also to the point that I continued building on Lego Digital Designer, also known as LDD, to have a digital copy of my MOC in case it ever breaks or I want to make simpler changes to the actual MOC I've already made, so I don't have to tear apart a whole structure that I've made just to try something new. If I have an idea, I could try it out on LDD to then add it to the physical model later on, and vice versa in some cases. This gave me the opportunity to plan out the model in a much simpler way, figuring out which characters I would use based on the scenes in the movie and just overall size. Next step was to figure out which scenes I wanted to have implemented into the MOC. There were several scenes that I wanted to have in this MOC, and some that I wasn't too sure about. Some that I was really sure about was, for example, the scene where Thor actually smashes down on the grounds of Wakanda right after he yells, "Bring me Thanos," and where he strikes lightning towards the Outriders. Another scene I also wanted to have was the scene where Black Panther and Captain America are fighting the Outriders in the water. Another scene was the scene where Proxima Midnight actually fights Black Widow and Okoye. And two scenes that I weren't really too sure about was the scene where Black Panther punches Cole Obsidian. That was a really cool scene in my opinion. And another one was where Cole Obsidian fights the Hulkbuster. The thing with these two is that Cole Obsidian is a big figure, and they are quite tricky to pose in action poses. They can only move their arms up and down and move their hands 360 degrees. So there isn't really much to do with those type of figures. So I decided to just don't include Cole Obsidian in this one. And with the Hulkbuster, I wanted to have him, but the set is too large for this size, and if I had gone with a more minifigure scale version, I had to focus on making a good looking Hulkbuster MOC as well, which I didn't really have the time or the effort to say. And also, robots aren't really my type of thing. I'm not really that good at building robots. But another scene that I really wanted to have as well was where Bucky and Rocket are fighting the Outriders, and Bucky actually picks Rocket up and they are both shooting at the Outriders together. And another scene was also where Groot is using his arms and taking them through several Outriders. I could not replicate it completely as it was in the movie, so I took a bit of creative leverage right there. But I think it turned out amazing in the end. But those were the scenes that I really wanted to implement to this MOC overall. And then to start the process of replicating these scenes from the movie into Lego form, I continued on the first bit I had from before with the Technic pieces on the back, and with that in mind, I had plans on overall having this made in several sections, both for easy buildings, because I have one desk, and if I have one big chunk of a Lego MOC, it will be really hard for me to build on it. So it actually splits up to, if I remember right, 7 or 8 single pieces in the end. And this made it very easy for me to make changes where I had to. For example, one of the first changes was at the front ground of the MOC, where I started to just put up clip pieces for the lightning until I realized that he actually smashes down into the ground, making a small crater, and then the lightning flows through that, hitting different Outriders. So I started off with just a flat ground to then completely ripping that apart and making an indent further down, and then having some more texture, and then adding the lightning pieces afterwards. So before I actually made these changes to the lightning and the indent in the ground, I actually finished the overall MOC and the layout where all of the figures would have to go before actually changing anything. just so I didn't have to tear it apart multiple times when I wanted to change something. So it saved everything to the end where the whole MOC was somewhat finished in its overall shape, basically. At this point, applications for Klossfestivalen had just opened up, which is a Swedish Lego exhibition where Lego fans can show off their MOCs and just overall a lot of activities for anyone who loves Lego, basically. And for the first time, I actually submitted a MOC that I had not finished yet, and that was because I had really strong feelings that I would finish it before Klossfestivalen, which actually turned out to be true. I actually finished it before Klossfestivalen and unveiled it on Klossfestivalen, and that was the first place I actually showed off the finished MOC. But during this time as well, before Klossfestivalen, a poster was released, this poster to be exact, to celebrate the 10-year anniversary of the MCU. Lego made this Legofied version of already existing 10-year anniversary MCU poster with all of the MCU characters, minifigures on display, and a lot of fans were fast to realize that 3 of these minifigures we had not gotten yet. It was a War Machine and Bucky from Infinity War, and also a Wong from either Doctor Strange and Infinity War. So a lot of fans started to speculate if we were going to get several new sets based on Infinity War, and just overall where could we possibly get these minifigures. They did not appear in any upcoming Lego set or anything like that. We actually got them as Bricktober figures during the Toys R Us promotion, but later on Lego Store promotion in the US, considering that Toys R Us had closed down at this point as well. And these figures included the 3 I mentioned before, Bucky, War Machine and Wong, but also an Iron Man or Tony Stark minifigure. And 2 of these I really needed for my MOC, which were the Bucky figure, taken directly from Infinity War, and also War Machine, also taken directly from Infinity War. My plan was to use the already existing War Machine and Bucky from the Civil War sets, but I was happy that they made updated versions of both characters, and they are probably the best Infinity War characters, considering that the Bricktober pack had a much higher quality to the minifigures than some of the minifigures in the actual sets had. So that was a really joy to have. But of course, they came out in October with the Bricktober promotion. Here in Sweden we still had Toys R Us, so I managed to get mine through Toys R Us. But it took a while, because I had to wait until October when the promotion started. So the MOC was technically not finished until I had those 2 minifigures. So the MOC was finished in October of 2018, while it was unveiled in January of 2018 at Klossfestivalen. And it was also in October where I decided to post my first pictures of the MOC in its whole finished glory. I got a lot of feedback from multiple people on Instagram, on Flickr, and I was so happy with the amazing feedback I had gotten from people, and that people had been waiting ever since I announced and teased this project to all of you guys. And it just really meant a lot, because during this building process I had gotten several messages. How's it going with the Infinity War display? How's it going with the Infinity War display? Have you seen this new trailer from Avengers Infinity War? Hopefully, yeah, people just were really helpful and linked me to trailers, pictures from the trailers and stuff like that. So people were really helpful in helping me trying to really nail this model in such a perfect way, and I couldn't really be happier with the feedback and just overall response I've gotten from people. And this is probably one of my favorite MOCs I've done so far, just because of the whole building process and just overall the meaning this MOC has to me, just being the 10-year anniversary of the MCU to it actually celebrating the release of Avengers Infinity War, and just overall being a huge Marvel fan as I am, it's just a really fun model to look at when it's completely done. And yeah, I couldn't be more thankful for all of the amazing feedback and support I've gotten through all of you guys throughout the years, and I I can't really say much else but that. Um, so this was basically the whole rundown of what made this project possible, and yes, the making of this project as well, because it was no easy feat, because I tried a lot of new things with this, which I really feel I succeeded with, and I couldn't be more happier. So yeah, that is pretty much everything I had to tell you guys about my Avengers Infinity War Wakanda minifigure display. If you like this video, please rate, comment, and subscribe if you want to see more, and I will see you guys in another video. Thank you for watching. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to click the subscribe button and also follow me on my social media. I have a link to all of those down below in the description. So see you next time, guys.